So, I thought I would talk about Robin Williams in the context of someone like me who has depression, who's had suicidal thoughts. But I guess I'm analytical in my mental illness. I think that's analytical or logic. I'm not gonna look it up at the moment because I've had horrible things happen to me in my life that precipitated me becoming depressive. A lot of trauma and abuse. And the suicidal thoughts were always stress related. Something is happening at that moment, and that's when I think about it. Either I'm being physically assaulted, mentally assaulted, or there is some sort of consequence happening out of my control, and my mind just can't handle it. The first time I considered suicide that I remember, I was 8 years old. We were living across the radio station in Conway, the public radio station. Is that East Side, East Main Street? I think I don't know. And it was the Route 16, Route 302, maybe, before it's, I don't know. Anyways, we had an attic there too, but, I shared a room. I didn't have my own room. And I think the way it worked, our great-grandmother was living with us at the time, and she was disciplining me. And she always disciplined me, but never my brother, because my brother was our favorite. And I remember looking out the window, thinking of jumping out the window. And this is on the second floor, and when I was 8, I probably looked like I was 4. I was that small. But I remember looking out the window and thinking about jumping, and then thinking I probably wouldn't die, I'd probably just break something. And then walked away and just went on with my day. And it's weird to think that that's how the thoughts go through your head. I don't remember being I had an anxiety attack when I was 9 in school. This guy I had a crush on, something he said triggered me, and and these are things that I'm realizing now as I go through therapy, having to do with sexual abuse and sex assault. But and those are some of the things that have exacerbated the depression, because there was a lot of physical abuse that I witnessed and had been a victim of when my parents were married, my dad, and I witnessed my mom being abused by her second husband. So it's like I witnessed a lot of things, and that really like screws with your head. I think the second time I remember just I triggered, like, my best friend was leaving to go halfway across the country. She was one of the only friends I had, even though in a lot of ways she wouldn't call me her best friend or anything. For me, she was my best friend at the time. And I got triggered by the fact that the TV wasn't working, and I put my hands through the window. And through the next year or two, I continued to do things like try to cut myself. There were times throughout high school, and I have scars that I could point out to people where, oh, that's from me trying to cut myself. That's just from cutting myself. There aren't a lot. I stopped doing the cutting kind of stuff and just went to like hitting things so I could have bruises. Because bruises go away, scars don't. But yeah, I mean, as an adult, what I would do when it got bad and I felt like hurting myself, I felt like cutting my arm open, I would go to the ER, actually. So, and I probably went to the ER maybe 3 to 4 times in a 5-year period, or maybe less than 5 years. Maybe most of it happened in Arizona. I lived in Arizona for 7 years. Spent a few years taking care of my mom. It was probably in a 2-year period I took myself to the ER about 3 times. I remember when I was living with this one roommate, I think around that time I had teeth pulled, and they had given me codeine, and it was really bad environment. It became a bad environment when someone moved in who didn't like me, who already had an opinion about me, and made things bad. And so I would take the codeine to just make things go away. And then moved out, and it was between that time. Now I'm really like going through my time frame. I think I took myself to the ER 2 times in 1 year. It took a while because of Arizona to even get help, mental health help, and then get on the right prescriptions. I actually had to move from like Tempe and Mesa to Phoenix to have a choice on who I could go to. And actually, there was intervention because one of the service providers was failing miserably, and they still are failing miserably, because several of the shootings that have occurred out there that made TV news, like one of the ones at Walmart, had to do with failing mental health. I worked at a Walmart for about 2 months, and a guy there, I don't know what he had, but he was having trouble getting his medications, and the failure of the state and the fact that Walmart doesn't provide insurance, and a lot of these companies, they wouldn't provide mental health. But anyways, he stabbed a manager. The manager survived. Everyone survived this attack. There were a lot of things that people did wrong with this person, including the people at Walmart. But I remember getting a call to help deal with the mental health, health thing. You realize how cheap a company is when they have a third party call you to deal with mental health issues. You can't sit on the phone normally and be able to deal with the complexity of that kind of situation. And it wasn't long after that I left, and I didn't leave because of that. I left for other reasons. Like, I was worth $2 more than what they were paying me. But I want to get back on track, but it's hard. I think it might be surprising for some people to realize that when my mom died, I didn't get suicidal. I think it's because when she was diagnosed with her illness and they said what she needed, I started to go through the grieving process because we didn't know what was going to happen. And then she got her transplant, was doing so well, and actually I was on the right medication, and I'm still on the same medication. I was put on Cymbalta. I don't think I've really, I've only had 2 episodes in the 3 years I've been here, and they have been situational kind of things, but and they had nothing to do with my mother. They were very much having to do with outside forces and things that just. But when I took care of my mom, and she was getting sicker and sicker again, I was going through the grieving process. I'm still grieving. When I was homeless,